I apply whatever I learned in sports over the years to my life and my business, and it has got me to where I am. I can assure you that I didn't know what I was doing also. that's the honest truth. When it comes to studies, I would say I wasn't the smartest kid on the block. In fact, then before national service, I had to work a couple of jobs to support myself. But I can tell you that I have probably experienced much more failure than anybody has gone through this industry. It was a lot of gut feeling and instinct. Every year we tell ourselves this is just the beginning. And this has happened for the past 8 to 9 years.
Welcome back, viewers, to episode 4 of Against the Grain. Today we have a very big treat for you. As many of you guys know, me, Don, and Reuben, we are one of the co-founders of one of the best-ranking financial advisory firms in the country right now. But behind all this magic, behind all the special things that we have done, lies one person. So it was his dream at first that eventually gave birth to all the things that we have today. Can I please let us all welcome to our director, Kevin Goh.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on this episode.
Okay, Kev, so as you know, today we are here to really drill deep into your thoughts, your philosophy. Feel free to share as much as you want with our viewers. I'm pretty sure a lot of them wants to know both small and big moments that have gave way or have helped you to pave your way towards what you have today. And I think just as a brief introduction as well, whatever Kevin has achieved right now at age 32, many will be very, very impressed lah. Okay, so Kev, over to you. Maybe you can just give a short introduction about yourself first.
Okay, I first learned about this industry when I was 20 years old, while still in NS. Back then, the little bit backstory was that I didn't come from a well-to-do family background, and during the course of studying for A-levels, my dad was diagnosed with end-stage lung cancer and eventually passed away very quickly because we don't have good financial planning or insurances in the family. So in order to pay for the upcoming uni fees, there are only two ways. Either I take a loan, like what most people would do, or I sign on with the SAF, like get a scholarship. And because of the fact that I could study well and get good grades from schooling days, it was not difficult to go that path. And therefore, I made the decision to sign on with the armed forces, got a scholarship. Everything was turning out well for me. But unfortunately, I suffered a pretty serious injury. That injury got me out of the course OCS towards the last few weeks of it, and I had to rethink whether I really wanted to pursue that path. So of course, long story short, I decided that wasn't where I could go the furthest in life, and I decided to take some steps to leave the force as a regular. Yeah, so after leaving the force as a regular, I went back to being an NSF, went back to having to find money or take loans to fund for my uni. And I stumbled upon this industry. At first, wasn't very keen on it because people say that, oh, this industry, you got to sell to your friends and family to make money. It's very tough. There's a lot of stigma. You won't be suitable for it. Why do you get such good grades and then come into this industry? So there was a lot of negativity surrounding my, this initial thought to come into it. Really have to just put aside all those negativity and go and speak to people who are actually doing well in this industry. And after speaking to people who are doing well in this industry, I realized, hey, no, it's a different story altogether. Because people who are not doing well, they are not really in it, they will tell you all the negative things, bad things, because they want you to be like them, either not go into it or not do well, correct? But people who are doing well will tell you a different story altogether. So I sought out a lot of people who are doing very well, and I realized that it's a very meaningful industry. Number one, it is ironic that my family suffered a lot because of financial planning, or the lack thereof. And I didn't want to have people around me go through that kind of situation that I had to go through. Although it helped me to grow a lot, but if given a choice, I'd rather people around me don't suffer that same fate that I did. So I thought it was meaningful to do this type of work. And secondly, I saw the income potential is at least it's a job or career that I can do. I'm going through my undergrad studies that can allow me to earn enough and save enough to pay off all my school fees during my studies itself, and not have to spend 3-4 years after graduation paying off the loans like what most people in my situation would be doing. Yeah, so I thought that, well, it's something that I think I resonate with. I can do well to help people, and I can do well to help myself as well. So that's how I started. If you had told me 11 years ago that I would be where I am, or we would be where we are today, I would never have believed that, even 1% of it. Yeah, so I think it's a wonderful business, and very blessed to be here.
Okay, then let me throw Kev the first question. So let's say imagine right now you're a Charizard lah, right? You briefly just described your Charmander moment, right? But just now I heard you mention say you realize that this cannot be what all your life has to offer to you, right? So at what point were there any instances or any evidence or what gave you the idea that actually there could be more to what I can get out of life as well?
Okay, for me, I believe that life is short, and we only got one life and one shot at it. After experiencing family member and relative passing on at a very young age, everyone will eventually experience that, right? Just that I experienced it earlier in a bad way as well as a good way. So I think that there's good things and lessons that we can learn out of every experience. So I realized that life is short. If I had to delay my studies by a year, and therefore my entire bond by a year, if I were to stay on with the force, that would be doing myself and my one life a lot of injustice, and which is also one of the reasons why I decided to take a different path and see if I can go further elsewhere. You never know what's in store for you. You can or what you can achieve taking a certain path. Nobody knows. All you can do is to just take the plunge, take the step forward, and really strive to do your best and be better every day, to learn from people who are the master of the field, who are already very successful, who are 100 steps ahead of you, and see the possibility of what this can help to achieve. Right. So of course I didn't know what I could achieve for myself. There's no way to know that, but I saw what others could achieve for themselves in this industry after being here for 10, 20, 30 years. And I told myself that objectively, knowing my own capability and my own mindset, would I be able to at least be that successful, or even or go even further? The answer to me was yes. And therefore, I took that plunge, I took that risk. It wasn't like unfounded, it wasn't blind faith. Of course, I'm someone who has to see some form of possibility before I go into it. Yeah, and of course, when I go into it, I make sure that I make the best use of every day. Yeah, the opportunities that I have.
Yeah, I think if you put the industry specifics aside, right, like as you said, things like your capability, your mindset, that led you to make the decision that, okay, probably you can do this and you can do this well and succeed where others have, and maybe even go further than them, right? So it is also applicable to many people listening to this, right? Because they may not be doing the same thing as us or yourself, right? What do you think maybe at the beginning, right, as a new 21-year-old going to uni, facing this new challenge, what do you think was more important, your mindset or your capability at that time, right? Which is more important, and why? And in detail, what was that mentality that you had, going into this, that made you so successful today?
Right. So you mentioned about the mindset as well as the capability. Well, of course, they are interconnected. They are always related, correct? But let me try to separate them out. In terms of capability, you will never know what you are truly capable of when you go into something new, or when you want to scale further heights. But you can always look back at what you have done, correct? And draw lessons and strength from that. I'm not a believer of living in the past. Let's not get that wrong. So I'm a believer of always doing better, always striving for more, always creating new and bigger impact for people around me and the community and the society. And before I even stepped into this industry, I've had my fair share of success as well in other things that I was doing. Number one, in terms, what will most people do when they grow up in Singapore? They will be focusing on their studies through the education system. They will be probably doing one or two CCA on a more serious note, all right, be it uniform group, performing arts, or sports. So of course I measured myself in those areas. I mean, I'm not very special. I'm a typical Singaporean like any of us growing up here. So I also went through the system. And when it comes to studies, I would say I wasn't the smartest kid on the block, but I think I was doing not too bad. I got into all the top schools one way or another, and I know that if I study well, I could get pretty good grades. So that already validate that if I put my heart and soul and mind to doing something right, I can do it well. And I scored good enough grades to get into a local uni business course, which is where I met most of you who started this journey with me, right? Which I'm very, very grateful for even till today. And secondly, I didn't come from a well-to-do family background, so there wasn't much sport or performing art or things that I can do. My options are limited, and I was pretty talented in a sport that I discovered by chance, and that was long distance running. So I did that throughout my primary school, later part of primary school, secondary school, JC, and it was something that I ended up doing pretty well. I was the top few in the nation, or top sometimes if things go well. That two areas, studies and sports, already taught me that if I find that I have some talent in something, and I put my heart and soul into perfecting the craft to the greatest extent that I can, I will be able to achieve pretty much everything that people may not expect myself to achieve. So I already had found success, and when I came into this industry, have to do sales. It's not blind faith. It's not by chance. I already had some experiences after national service. Oh no, in fact, after A levels and before national service, I had to work a couple of jobs to support myself, to fund for my lifestyle and daily expenses before I went into NS. And I took on 2 to 3 sales job at any point in time. So at least 2 at any point in time, daytime and then nighttime. And all those jobs, I did them pretty decent because I think I'm not too bad with people, and somehow I'm also quite more driven than the average salesperson. So I was earning pretty good money, 2-3K per month at that point in time, and I didn't, which was good for 18, 19 years old, and I didn't feel that I was hating it or working very hard. In fact, I did enjoy it. So I knew that I had to do something related to frontline sales and something that I could excel in. So mindset is something, mindset, mentality, I think it's a lot more important than your talent or your capability. Whether in studies or sports, I was never the best. Actually, far from it. Yeah, I was always the underdog, the dark horse. But I think where I trump and win most people is in terms of my mindset. I work harder to make up of the lack of talent compared to the most talented people. Although I had some but not to the level of some of them. Coming into this industry or in whatever that you are doing, you just have to be very aware of what your thoughts are on a subconscious and a conscious level, day to day. It's very easy to think negatively. In fact, most people, when a situation arises, especially it's one that they are not familiar with, one they have not encountered before, and it challenges them, it makes them scared, they're going to uncharted territory. Usually the first thought, right, even for myself, will be negative one. Yeah, but you just need to know how to catch yourself there and then, either turn it around, block it, and think of the positive. So I'm very fast in that. So if you see that, why am I such a positive person most of the time? It's not that I'm inherently like that. It's just that I'm able to catch that and overcome it a lot faster than most people, right? So the mindset, mentality, very important. Another mindset shift I had was I realized after doing things for 20 years through the system, that I can't get very, very far following the system and following what everybody does. If I could study well, which I could, there are people doing better and much better. If I could, do long distance running well, there are people who are national level, world class level, doing much better. So I realized I can't continue doing what I was doing. Otherwise, I can go further, but can I go a lot further that would change my life completely or make a lot of difference to people around me or the community, I thought the answer was no. And therefore, I had to do something completely different from what I was doing. Yeah. So I didn't even make a shift or pivot. I just went the other direction entirely, and decided that, okay, this path cannot work, right? It has got me so far, but it will not get me much further. And therefore, I had to do something that most people do not do, which is to go uni but not exactly chasing the grades. Go into a sales role that most people shun or feels that you don't need that kind of credibility to join, etc. lah. So that led us to where we are today lah. So mindset important, but sometimes we also need to shift our mindset entirely to go a lot further.
And so just for the viewers to understand, right? Because I think important for everyone to also know like what kind of level are you exactly at, right? So when you say good grades and good schools, right? Actually, what grades and what schools are those? Because I think I agree with you that sometimes when people look at financial advisory as industry, right, it's like a last choice. You cannot study, you cannot find your first, second, third choice of job, then okay lah, you go and sell insurance lah, right? So I think there's still a lot of that kind of perspective on it, right? So maybe just to share also like what is your level of education and before you made the choice to enter this.
I see. I fully agree with you that there's that perspective of people feel that, hey, this should be a last choice industry. But I beg to differ. I think we have made very good progress over the years. In fact, since I joined till now, it's been a little bit more than a decade. We have made very, very good progress in making sure that the industry is a lot more professional. So like in our team, almost everybody is a graduate and are of very high caliber and can probably get very good, very high paying job wherever they go. But they made the choice to be here. So there must be things that we are doing right. As for myself, since you asked, I'm going to just review. I came from some of the top schools in Singapore. The top, by what I meant was really the top. Yeah, so in my year 1 and 2 of secondary school, I was from Hwa Chong. I made a switch to Victoria School in year 3 and 4 for sporting reasons. And because I didn't want to be in a team that was always fighting for second, third, fourth in the sport that I was in. I always wanted to be in a team that was fighting for number 1. And at that point, I mean, truthfully, objectively, Victoria School was the school that was always fighting for number 1. And not getting number 1 meant losing. So I wanted to be in that environment, but I definitely don't want to go there just to leech off the success of the team. I wanted to go there and contribute and make sure that the team dominates even more. Yeah, so eventually, long story short, I became the captain of the sports team and we won in my final year there. Then I moved on to Raffles Junior College. Or by then, they already rebranded to just call it RI, Raffles Institution, because there was a new IP program, 6 years through train. Yeah, so in my year 5 and 6, I was in Raffles. And all the schools I've been to, I'm surrounded by people who are what you consider geniuses in the country. They are the PSC scholars, the SAFOR scholars, whatever, top tier institutions, banks, government sector, whatever. A lot of the top tier scholarship holders, they are people who I've studied with, sat beside with in class, ran alongside with, competed with or against, one way or another. So I came from this environment. Therefore, I know that I really have to find ways and areas and strengths that I can do better than these people, because I know how good they are, and I experience firsthand how being in a good environment, of very high caliber people will really determine how far you go as well. Yeah, which is why from the start of building a team till now, we have always focused on making sure that everybody within a team are people who are of certain caliber and contributing actively, and we create a very good environment such that whoever comes in, they are motivated and they are positively influenced to do a lot better than what they could otherwise do on their own.
Quite a bit of mention was made about your career as an athlete, right, back then. And I mean, clearly it meant so much to you to the point where you were willing to change schools, right, just to be in a team which you felt give you a better experience lah overall, right? Let's just put it that way. So I'm just wondering how much of your experience as an athlete competing back then were you able to, I mean, bring over to other areas of your life, right? Whether it be work or outside that. And at that point of time when you were doing it, right, all those years ago, did you think that one day it would, all these experiences, learnings would eventually lead to what you have today? Or was it purely, I'm just doing it off the spot back then and not really thinking so much about how it might affect your life in the future?
Right, great questions. I think there's a quote, if I'm not wrong, by Steve Jobs, who said that you cannot connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. So if you had asked me at the point in time whether whatever I was doing could lead me to where I am, answer is 100% no. There's no way to tell. But I can say today, a lot of my thinkings in life, my achievements or experiences in life, business, otherwise, whatever that I do, are shaped very much by my experiences in competitive sports while growing up. And I can assure you it's 100%. I apply whatever I learned in sports over the years to my life and my business, and it has got me to where I am. I'm very, very, very blessed, and fortunate to have gone through those experiences. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, thanks. I mean, it's great to hear about, how, because I think for a lot of us as well, right? Growing up, I mean, for us to have ended off where we are today, it was never really possible to even think of this as something that would
Like an end point.
yeah, that will eventually happen, right? And even I think 10 years ago, what we wanted out of life back then when we were still in school is completely different from what we want today and what we have today as well, right? We are such different people already. So it's nice. I mean, I agree a lot with the quote, right? It's easier to connect the dots backwards than it is forwards. So in a similar vein, right? Maybe just, to segue the conversation a little. Right now you are a director, right? Running a, fairly successful and big team by all accounts. So clearly having the ability to 看人 lah, right? To really see potential in people must have been a skill or trait that you built up or acquired along the way. So I'm just wondering, right? Because three of us, you brought us into this career with you fairly early on. Actually, I don't know whether we really asked you this before, but back then, what did you actually see in us? Like, truth is, back then as students, like, we were doing kind of like fuck all, like honestly, we were a bit of like bums, right? Just idling our way in school, just having fun. So, what's your decision making process like when thinking about, is this someone I even want to give a shot to, someone I want to approach? And yeah, I mean, just curious about your methodology to this.
We got into this business quite young, right? When I was 21 and when you guys were 22, 23. I can assure you that I didn't know what I was doing also. That's the honest truth, right? I wasn't even looking to build a team or recruit, just looking to do my job well. Yeah, so how did it lead all to today? I think, like I said earlier, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. For good things to happen to you, you must first create your own luck. I was in uni year 1 or 2, but working fairly hard and fairly serious about what I was doing. I think back then I already found some level of success, which is why you guys saw it and were attracted to explore more with me in the first place. Secondly, I'm someone who, if I want to do well, make a lot of impact, create a lot of success, I rather do it with people I know, my friends, more than anything else. And back then, when at the point in time that you guys joined me, we were already quite familiar with each other as friends. And I feel that you guys are the people I can connect with. And for us to be where we were, we couldn't have done too badly in life to have met where we met, which was NUS Business School. After knowing you guys for a year or two, I could also see that, hey, not just as friends, we drink or we do nonsense things together, but I also saw that you guys had the kind of mindset and quality to go along this journey with for the foreseeable future. And it was a lot of gut feeling and instinct. And I think likewise for you guys as well, right? We will never imagine us to be where we are today. And I would say we are nowhere near the end point or the end game. Every year we tell ourselves this is just the beginning. And this has happened for the past 8 to 9 years, right? That you have been here. And it's very exciting to be fighting, alongside you guys every single day in such a high caliber, high performing team and such a cutthroat industry. But that's what makes it exciting and fun for me. I love those challenges that we are facing every day. And if you were to ask me this question 10 years from now, I'm pretty sure my answer will be the same, that I will never imagine how far we could come. Yeah, so I think it's exciting. It's always good to have an element of surprise and unknown rather than having everything, all the outcome already known, play it too safe. That's a bit boring, right? Yeah, in life, we need some excitement. A lot of things to do with leadership, decision making, you'll never be 100% sure. You'll never even be 2/3 sure. So you just have to take a, bet sometimes. A lot got to do with gut feel as well and instinct, leadership instinct. Most important for me is I see who are the people who are fighting in the trenches with me. That's one thing I can be certain, right? So if I know the quality and the commitment of people who are fighting in the trenches with me, then I can afford to take higher risks, to aim higher, to go bigger. And if I do that enough times, then there'll be some decisions that turn out to be right in a very big way. But of course, today, after building a team for the past close to a decade and having spoken to and brought in many people into this career, many of whom, like you guys, became very, very successful in their own ways, correct? Of course, accumulated a lot more experiences for me. So today is not 8 to 9 years ago when I brought you guys in that I didn't know what I was doing. I guess you guys know the quality of people that we are looking for. And when I meet people, I'm also a lot more experienced in deciding whether they are the people for the industry or not. If not, then I will be very honest to tell them. And even if I think there are people who can do okay in this industry, they may not be people who may do well in our team, who may thrive in our team, because it's a very different environment from anywhere else that you can find. And if I find that they are suitable, great. If not, then I will also be very honest to let them know. So I think certain things at the end of the day comes with experience and failing enough time. So a lot of time people are scared of failure, but I can tell you that I have probably experienced much, much more failure than anybody has gone through this industry.
Kev, so whatever you've done so far, right? Like your resume is so impressive to the point where you have caught a lot of attention, right? To the point where even you are invited overseas to teams to give a speech or give a talk. You've been invited by the company on grand stages as well. Many long-standing teams with histories longer than ours also seek your counsel to come and give some rebirth, some new passion to inspire the team as well. So maybe to just pick your brains a little bit also. I'm sure many of our viewers right now, after watching this, they'll be like, I see what all these lessons that you are imparting to me right now, but what are perhaps one or two practical philosophies, advice, or steps that you feel that you can share with them that they can even take action right now that can help propel them to the next level?
I'm very fortunate, right, to be in this situation where I can not just lead the team that we have, but also to impart a lot of my experience to other people outside the team, other organizations, or even teams and organizations from other countries out of Singapore. So I always count my blessings every day. I don't take all these things for granted. And I don't really have a zero-sum mentality. I never think in terms of if I share with you what I do or my trade secrets, means you're going to take my market share and my clients, and therefore I would have lesser. So this is one mindset that people who want to go very far in whatever they're doing have to be ready to adopt. You must really have a mindset of abundance and not a mindset of scarcity. And by mindset of abundance, I mean just to give. You got to freely give in terms of money, time, effort, without expecting things in return immediately or in the long term. I can tell you that if you adopt this mindset of abundance, somehow great things will always happen to you one way or another, but you can never expect it. And even if you expect it, you'll never come in the way that you'll ever expect. That's what I can say. And secondly, there's also another quote: if I were to see far, is by standing on the shoulders of giants. So I always seek people who are doing better than me, be in this industry or be in any other business. They could be people I know, they could be people I don't know, but I always learn from people's mistakes and people's success. So got to be always humble no matter where you are, and know that there's always something much bigger than you, a much bigger game to play for, and always learn from people. So if you are at a early stage of your career, like you're starting out or a couple of years in, the most important factor I would think is the mentor and the environment that you are in, not how much you are earning on the employment contract from month to month, but your mentor, right, and the team that you are working with. If you have found some level of success, that's good. Celebrate your success, celebrate your victory. Always surround yourself with people who are better than you, and talk to people who are better than you. They will always challenge you to think a lot bigger and go a lot further. Yeah. So if you really, really want to go far in whatever you do these two things.
Wow, those are very good advices. I should write that down later.
Yeah, I think over the years, because of course we know you for quite a while, right? Since like way back in school, and I think to also go deeper on your perspective on things, because I feel like, you know, in business or in your career, it's actually very reflective of who you are in life, right? Whoever you are as a person, what you do, your daily habits, all these all translate to whether you're successful or not end of the day, right? Because no one can pretend, you know, be shit at, you know, who you are in your personal life, but then be very good at business and your career. I think it's rarely the case, right? So I think one thing that I feel is still impressive till today, right, is that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, right, but you have never taken a single day of MC since the moment we met, since we started this thing together, and that was like, I don't know, what, 9 years ago.
A lifetime ago lah.
About 9 years ago, right? So actually, I mean, that to people hearing this, right, they'd be like, "Oh, that's crazy, right? Are you like bionic or what? Like you never sick or you know what? Like, or how do you get to that level where you have to do that?" Because I think for a lot of people, MC is like given. They are sick like once a month, once a quarter. It's like a normal thing, right? We're humans, you know, we're exposed to bacteria, virus, we get sick, and then we take MC to rest, right? That's normal. How do you think you managed to achieve that, even though it's not like a crazy, like a very recognized achievement? But to me, I think it's something special enough that, and I believe that it's not just about biology. I also believe a lot of things is start from the mind, right? Maybe you can share with us a bit more about that.
I'm surprised that question come out, but not surprised as well, coming from Reuben. I think if I were to stand corrected, I there were times that I fell sick. Once was COVID. The other time I caught a very bad virus, which I think happens from time to time. But you're right. It's something that very, very seldom happens to me. During those times that I was really, really sick, COVID was majority of the time I was actually overseas with you guys and to quarantine myself. So it didn't really affect my work because I was supposed to be on holiday anyway. The other time was, I think I caught a pretty bad virus, and you guys could remember I completely lost my voice, at least 95% of that. I'm very blessed to be in a position where I can decide most things that goes on in my life. So during those period when those things happen, which are rare, I have the luxury and the freedom to reschedule my meetings and my appointments. I'm in a position whereby I don't really have to take MC. I can just reschedule things around, and people who know me well know that I seldom do that, or I almost never do that unless I really have to. When those times happened, people were understanding. They knew that I really cannot. But otherwise, to the best of my ability, I always show up. So I'm not immortal. I'm not God. I do fall sick, and I can fall sick. But the question is, why so much lesser than most people? Why does it not really impact me, over so many years? I think then I can share with you the reasons for that. Number one, I come from a sporting background. And you know that in sports, once you fall sick, that's it. You miss a couple of days or even a couple of weeks of training, and whatever that you have done for the past 4, 5, 6 months. If you fall sick a couple of weeks or a month or two before your actual competition, your big competition that is upcoming for that year, that's it. That jeopardizes your opportunity. I learned that from sports. And I was in a pretty high performing team in sports. Back then, I would not mention at which phase because I had several coaches, right? Because I went to different schools. I learned a lot from all my coaches, valuable life lessons that I would not be able to learn anywhere else. So there was a period of time in my competitive sporting time era that whenever myself or any of our team member fall sick, we have to write a one-page reflection detailing what did we do in the past week, how exactly we fell sick. And you know, it may sound ridiculous to most listeners, but I have to tell you, this team and these coaches, this coach produced many years of champions, and champions who are not just good in sports, but also do very, very well in their studies and became high-paying, high-flying professionals in their career right now. And I know all these people. You may think it's very ridiculous at that point in time, or now that you hear this, which I did too. But you know, after doing that reflection for several times, you realize that it always boils down to certain decisions you made. Like you either didn't rest well, or you didn't eat healthily, or didn't exercise enough. These are the three main reasons. So I realized that 95% or even 99% of the time why somebody falls sick are because of bad decisions rather, that they made one way or another in their lives. Some are within your control, some are not within your control. But I believe most are within our control. So I was very conscious of that. And if you know it, I'm pretty consistent throughout all areas of my life. I'm not just like that in my business. I'm also like that in all areas of my life. So I don't really separate work and life. I think at a higher level, you need to be able to integrate them. And you look at people who are most successful in whatever they do, they don't really separate. They just learn to manage both together. If I want to be the best in what I do, I want to be the top, then I got to be like that. I can't really say, oh, this is work, this is life. And of course, another reason why we do our best not to fall sick is because we didn't want to write those reflections at that point in time, correct? So it became a habit since I was a teenager till now. And we are in an industry where we work for ourselves. I believe to go very, very far, to be, super successful, one way or another, you eventually got to work for yourself. Be it as a self-employed, start your business one way or another. And if I work for myself and my money is very valuable, then of course I will do whatever it takes not to fall sick to the best of my ability. And if I'm doing very high value work, I'm impacting a lot of lives, team members, clients alike, which I am, then these people need me to be fit, to be healthy, to not keep falling sick and be unavailable once a week because I was sick. I know that it's something I cannot afford to happen too often. Then because of whatever family history of illnesses and passing that I suffered, or rather experienced, I know that life is very precious. Every day of life is very precious, especially towards the end. And if you think about it, an average person falls 1 or 2 days a month. So it may sound like nothing. Let's give it 1.5 days on average. In a year, you fall sick. 12 months times 1.5 days, that's 18 days. In 10 years of your life, you are sick for half a year. So now if I put it into this perspective, will you spend the time to take care of yourself, to go and exercise daily, or at least a couple of times a week, to eat healthily, right? And to be very careful of your rest and who you surround yourself with on a physical level. So that's my take on this. But if you are in a position whereby whether you are sick or not, employer pays you, there's no difference. If you work 10% more, doesn't make much of a difference to your life or people around you, then maybe you need to rethink this whole thing. I think it goes back to your why lah. There's a bigger thing. There's a bigger reason.
So I guess just as a closing question, right, for our chat with you today, and just to piggyback off the last, what you just said also, I think we all know, and I think most of your friends and the people around you also know that you are a pretty hardcore person in all areas of your life. When you want to achieve something, you really go all out to achieve it. And I would say, having known you for so many years, and I think you can all attest to this, right? Your work ethic and intensity is something that even we find hard to replicate, despite being with you for so many years. So 2 questions, right, for our viewers before we end off today. First question is, honestly, do you think everyone can be like you? Like in terms of the work ethic, the effort, the time, and I mean, I guess all those things encompass. And the second question is, do you think that people need to be like you in order for them to find success in whatever they are doing in their life?
Number one thing I learned over the years, especially as a leader, is to not everyone can be like you, whoever you are. And in fact, chances are most people are not like you. So I have to accept that fact after a while, right? I guess it all goes back to your why. Why do some people do things at certain intensity but not in other areas? Or why do some people, can't be like other people? It all goes back to your life experiences. My why is very strong. I wake up every day with a purpose, right? To do better in what I'm doing for the people around me, for those who choose to put their faith in me as their consultants or as their leader. So I have a very strong why. I guess that's the difference between myself and most people. It goes a lot deeper. And it boils down to your purpose of living, your purpose of waking up every day. If someone has a very strong purpose elsewhere, has a very strong why, I'm sure they would be able to do what I do at the same intensity or even better, correct? So I don't think this answer is a surface level question. And second, I can say there are millions of people in this world who are far more successful than I am, who are at levels that I would never imagine myself to be able to reach. And do they do the same thing as me? Answer is no, 100% no. So I believe there are more than one way to succeed. And whatever way I choose to succeed, or whatever way that made me successful, does not mean that people have to do the same thing to find that same level of success or even more. And whatever I do, I learn from the mistakes and success of many other people who are better than me, who are further than me, right? I guess if you want to go a lot further than where you are now, one way is to seek out the minds and the experience of people who are doing far better than you. No point to compare. People can see that, hey, Kevin is doing very well. It's impossible to reach where he is, but then there are somebody else that I am saying the same thing about. Eventually, everyone lives their own life. Everyone runs their own race. You just got to decide how you want to run the one life that you have on this planet.
All right. Thanks for sharing that.
Any last questions?
Okay, maybe if I could just squeeze you for one bonus question for our viewers, just a very quick one. Maybe you can just share with them one or two non-negotiables that you have to do every single day that you feel that is essential in your life.
Wow. So that's a tough question. But if I were to, off the top of my head, in a candid manner, tell you, number one, got to find a purpose. Like, why are you doing what you're doing every day? If you don't have the answer, it's fine. You got to continuously think about that and find that, whether it takes you a month, a year, 10 years, find that. And you realize that from the point you realize what is that purpose, what is that why, you will go way higher from there in whatever ways that you cannot imagine. The second thing, which is what I believe, all these things can only be achieved if you are alive and healthy and fit. So whatever you are doing, right, whatever business you are in, there's no point having all the knowledge, all the experiences, but you cannot execute because you're of poor health. But why do I emphasize this so much to the viewers, to the team? I nag at you guys all the time to go and be active and stay fit and stay healthy, and I show that by example. I think that would be my answer. Right? Find your purpose and why, as well as stay fit and healthy to be able to do the things that you need to create the difference for people.
Okay, so I guess we're going for a run after this.
I just ran yesterday.
This morning.
Okay, guys, you heard it straight from Kevin himself. If you like today's podcast, feel free to leave a comment, like, and of course, subscribe. If you want to hear more from Kevin, of course, let us know. Drop us in the comments, say, let's bring Kevin back. We love his advices. Stay fit, stay healthy, get a purpose going. And I guess that wraps up episode 4 for today. Thanks so much, Kev. Bye bye, guys.
See you all.